Well, that was a wonderful way to start the day, the week ahead with our affirmation for energy. So this week, week 2 of the year, is on Did God Create the Universe or Become It? And this is from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. The Gospel of St. John, chapter 1, contains a passage that explains the essential truth that creation is a process of becoming. The universe is not separate from God, the Creator, but a part of Him, even as our own dream creations during sleep are figments of our consciousness. God's is the life, God's the reality. Not a melody could be composed, not a poem written. Were the melody and the poem not already there, simply waiting to be expressed? In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Ego-directed desire is like static. It distorts the radioed messages of infinity, but the pristine impulse from the divine, undistorted by limitation and delusion, is the life that gives rise to all that is. As the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita states, I am the fluidity of water. I am the silver light of the moon and the golden light of the sun. I am the Om chanted in all the Vedas, the cosmic sound moving as if soundlessly through the ether. I am the manliness of men. I am the good, sweet smell of the moist earth. I am the luminescence of fire, the sustaining life of all living creatures. I am self-offering and those who would expand their little lives into cosmic life. O Arjuna, know me as the eternal seed of all creatures. In the perceptive, I am their perception. In the great, I am their greatness. In the glorious, it is I who am their glory. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om. Om. Om.
What a joy. I was having a little smile to myself when we started with how feels everyone, how finds everyone. And I just imagine John's big energy when he was here on the weekend, and larger than life. It was amazing when you see or feel that energy around putting everything behind what you do. It's
He filled
amazing.
the room.
Yeah. And the first two topics of the year are kind of interesting, aren't they? You know, the previous week or last week was at the heart of silence, the eternal word. So first there was word, and we spoke about, this vibration and what a sound wave looks like. And when you speed it up, it eventually becomes light and all these interesting things. And then this week is, did God create the universe or become it? And it's kind of an interesting thing. But I was listening to a talk by Joe Tish, and he was telling this funny story. I don't have that joke, so Joe Tish can take this one. But there was an atheist, and he was talking to God, ironically, that he doesn't believe in. And then the atheist says, well, look, I've created out of dirt. I can grow and create my own things. And, God sort of sat there and took it on board and sort of went, well, why don't we do an experiment? He said, you create and I'll create, and let's see what happens in the end. And So the atheist starts and he says, oh, well, I need some dirt. God goes, get your own.
He's like, good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Get your own. So it's kind of a fun topic when we look at this. Did God create the universe or become it? And, you know, I think it's a very interesting topic. I think once you understand it or on this path, you kind of have a deeper understanding that we are a part of that. And just listening to all the words, you know, from the Bible and the Gita, you know, it's ingrained in this belief system. But we do come across it, and to what extent does it look like? And, you know, one of the simple analogies that people look at is that a great ocean, doesn't it? And then, you know, are we separate? You know, are the waves separate from the great ocean, and do they separate, and where do we sit within those things? But when you think about it from a worldly perspective and how we sort of go about life, and you think of that duality or that separateness that other religions do talk about, that we're here and God's there, and when we die, we kind of go there or somewhere there, and, you know, it's either pleasant or it's unpleasant. So it's either this fluffy cloud with angels and harps playing, or we get tortured for the rest of our life. And it's kind of interesting, isn't it? And, you know, when you look at creation in itself, anything that's truth is eternal. It's in everything. It's not fleeting. It doesn't last for a moment. And it brings me to a kind of a separate topic, but it kind of plays into each other. If you think about our life, we're always searching for something. Like, we're always impatient. You know, the minute we sit down to meditate, it's like, what's next? What have I got to do? Like, we're always moving. We're always moving somewhere. And if you think about time and time in itself, it's exactly that, isn't it? And when you break down time to its simplest form, really time doesn't even exist, because if you slowed time down to be a minute or a microsecond, something actually happens. But what do we do with it? You know, so we only do with it what's happened or we've learnt from the past, and then we kind of have a choice, don't we? We can either choose to engage in what's happened to the past, we can learn from it, or we can completely ignore it and sort of keep thinking, well, where do we go from here and what do we do? And hence we have this comprehension of everything that's happening to us. We're always moving or creating or doing something still. And we're seeking that outward evolution in relation to what it is. So when you think about how we react or what we do, it's that reactive process to every second. It's a learnt behavior. It's something that happens. Ultimately, everything that we're doing is a response to something that's happened in the past. And you can expand that from this lifetime or lifetimes. So every single time something pops up, we have this reactive process because we're caught in this linear line. And if you think about center everywhere, circumference nowhere, when God created this long pathway, it's ultimately this pathway back to creation. And if you think about those simple words or the thought of creation, if you think about it in its separate sense, so if God created something, he actually had to create something to give to us. So if he was, or they were just in existence and they were in this bliss and they wanted it to be looked upon or shared or entertained, there was nothing else that existed. So it implies that something else existed. And so for that God to create something, that had to create something out of themselves. And then we've evolved. And I think I used the term last word. It's like the ultimate pyramid scheme. You know, we've created something and then it keeps going and going and going and going. And we keep going outwards because we see these glimpses of light. We see these glimpses and we believe that these things in life are what's bringing us joy or bringing us sadness or bringing us, and they're just reflections of the duality of that creation. And, I was thinking how often we just get duped by that. I think of two things, and I'll use opposing terms. It's like the ultimate ice cream. We think, wow, that ice cream was amazing. And I'll say this because we often do it, but we jump on our most memorable experience with ice creams over at Manly. We often bring people that here, we catch the ferry from Sydney over to Manly, and then we jump on this trek up, and we find this shop that sells great ice cream, and we eat it. We think it's amazing, and then you start thinking about, well, what created that amazing? Was it the people that we were with? Was it the weather? And I put my hand up to this because one of the things that I don't like are crowds. But if you think about a really, really hot day and you're absolutely exhausted and you've done some chores and you think, I want to reward myself, I'm going to go and get one of these amazing ice creams. And then you'll think, well, when I get to the shop, there's a line out the door. And then that experience becomes a waiting period because everybody on that hot day who's done some work or feels like spoiling themselves goes and gets an ice cream, and everybody then is on the same path, aren't they? They all think, well, this is amazing. Today's an ice cream day. I'm going to go and grab it. On that very, very hot day, which again, another piece of food that I quite enjoy is hot chips. On that very hot day, you'll probably go down to the hot chip shop and there'll probably be not much of a lineup because it is hot and people don't really like those hot food or hot experiences within it. So it kind of shows you that, yes, the hot chips where you thought were going to bring you joy, or that ice cream thought, can very much change depending on the circumstances around you. And that's that timeline that we're constantly trying to chase. We're always chasing something different. And in life, that's exactly what happens. We don't sit still. The world is constantly evolving and we're moving. But the truth behind everything is constant. And therefore, if you think about truth, truth is one and eternal. Truth is divinity. That is those elements of God that we talk about. It's the love, the joy, the peace, the calmness, the light, the sound, the power, and the wisdom that are God. And they're behind every single movement. It's the everything in this universe is created, and that's what we're actually seeking. But we're seeking it and trying to constantly move forward to get back to where we were. And whereas if you think of the opposing thing, if we actually were separate, we'd probably give up the race, wouldn't we? We wouldn't be on that journey. We wouldn't be seeking. We'd kind of be thinking, well, I'll just do my best. The outward things will give me what I need to do if I just do this. And then all of a sudden the race is over, because what have I got on this earth? I've probably got somewhere between 70 and 90, let's say 100 years, give or take anything else that comes along my way that could end my life instantly. And ultimately, that's that kind of a really interesting way to look at it, isn't it? You think about life being completely separate, which is what we're living currently. Everything that we're doing is this separateness, but hence we're still on this line trying to find the ultimate glue to get us back to where we were. And that glue, interesting enough, is the two amazing things that this path brings. And one is control of energy. Once we learn to control energy, which is the life force behind everything, which is all those 8 aspects of God, rather than seeking them outward, we're learning to use that energy to go back to its creation, go back to where we came from, go back to that infinite thing. And it is in all things. It is in us. We have just put layers upon layers upon layers of those individual times of reactions. We've put all those reactions in front of us and we can't see it. So we need that energy to bring us back to where we were and how we were. And the glue to it all, through all these great masters, through all the scriptures, is control of energy. But ultimately, that glue is love. Love is God, and love is that aspect that connects us back to that original piece of energy. And with those two things, we have all the resources in the world to completely keep moving forward. And I love the fact that this week's affirmation is around energy, And the one before was success. But this one is around energy. It's about controlling it. And a challenge this week is to, keep that affirmation up with energy and keep doing all the amazing gifts that have been given on this path of Kriya Yoga and Kriya Yoga itself. But let's glue it with love. Let's put every bit of love that we can muster. Fake it till you make it, doesn't matter what it is, but put that love behind and see what changes come about. And ultimately, all those changes come about because we are connected. We are a part of that creation.
Thank you. Just a few thoughts to add to this beautiful topic for the week. It goes along with what you were sharing, reviewing our first affirmation of the year is success. And if you think about it, it's like the reminder as we start the year to come, why are we here? Like, what is the success that we're all seeking? And it's freedom, it's union with the divine. And what do we need to get there? The next week, we focus on energy. And I really appreciate how we're given these techniques that help us to learn how to control the energy, control the life force, but also to offer all of our energy back to the divine and to feel that the divine is us. It is the energy that we are acting with. And if you think about creation, the more subtly you can tune into energy, the more you're living in the oneness, because there is, in the most pure form of energy, there's no separateness. It's just the vibration of Om, or, what happens is when things start to vibrate at different frequencies, that's when they become a chair or a person or the tree. It's all about the vibration. And when you think about what is it that is the experience of samadhi, it's that vibration of love so strongly and purely that there is no separation, because the vibration of Om as love, as the comforter, is oneness. So once you purify your vibration and your energy, there's no separation anymore. You just become that which you love, and there is only love. And that's actually the last words of Yogananda ji is, only love can take my place. So if you think about it, he was an expression of love on earth. He was pure love. So thus, all the devotees must aspire to be like him. We walk in his footsteps. And to achieve that experience of samadhi, this path is really full of ways to experience devotion to God and to raise the energy so that we can purify that energy to become not emotion, but devotion. And so when we go out into the world and we start to think about how do we keep our energy pure and high at the highest vibration, we have these amazing techniques in our experience. But I think one of the things that always stands out to me in this affirmation and the prayer for energy is the importance of faith. Because what things block our energy in life? It's not just the things we put into the body, but it's the thoughts that we allow ourselves to tune into. And when we have faith, we know that everything that's happening to us is an act of love. And so we don't resist it anymore. The biggest block to our energy is resistance. And so anytime you get a little grumpy or moody or something, rubs you the wrong way, feel your heart just reopen, expanding out like a little lotus flower, resting back into a place of acceptance and doing what we always remind ourselves Raul is really good at, saying, yes, Yogananda, yes, Divine Mother, this is an act of love from you. And it's a faith. And when we serve with that faith, that this is energy flowing through you, you don't block it. So what is another block is just the thought that I am the doer. This is my love that I'm giving. This is my partner. This is my pet. This is my job. It's when you start holding on and you start identifying with those attachments, and our whole path is how do we release this energy? And one of the things that Yogananda really wanted all of the truth seekers, devotees, spiritual seekers is to know we are so much more than we realize. there's a lot of ancient stories. We were just talking about this the other day, the gods and the demigods, and, they all wanted to access human potential. And why was that? And they say that it's, the angels and the demigods and all of these creatures and beings, they could not achieve self-realization like the human form could, because we actually have a potential within our central nervous system, and the way we're created in God's image is that we can reunite with God. And so they would become very jealous of us, and they would try to harm us or fight us. And so, but when you watch those stories, what happens? The human potential is so great because it loves. We have this incredible ability to love and to surrender this little self for the greater good. And that's what that story of the journey of the hero is often coming back to that. And it's truly, Yogananda said, you're like in a cage. You've created a cage. And just like a bird, when you first open its cage doors after it's been inside for a long time, that's symbolic of our soul. Like our soul has forgotten it's like this. And it thinks that it can't leave its boundaries that it's created, its attachments that it's formed. And so, what we hope to do by practicing Kriya Yoga, the techniques that we have, practicing service as selfless service, we want to free ourselves and live in that space of energy. And there's a really sweet story. I'll just kind of end with this, but I think some of you have heard it, but it's included in a little Wisdom of Yogananda series book on how to awaken your potential. And in it is this lion cub who is raised with sheep. And one day he's grown up his whole life with them. He goes, bleh, and everything, just like the sheep. And then he notices there's a lion stalking their herd, and all the sheep start running, and somehow he gets kind of off to the side, and he's running away from this lion going, bah, bah, and the lion's trying to get him, and it's singled him out, and he can't figure out what's going to happen next. And eventually the lion catches him, pounces on him, and he says, "What are you doing?" And the little sheep lion is like, "Oh, I'm just a sheep, don't eat me." And the lion's like, "You're not a sheep." And he says, "Yes, I am," battling with this lion, saying, "No, you're so much more than a sheep. You're a lion just like me." And he says, "Look," and he actually takes this little sheep lion and makes him look into a pond to see his reflection. And the little sheep lion realizes he's got the same mane, he's got the same face, he's got the ability to roar. And so he realizes that he is, in fact, a lion. And Yogananda said that's the story of the great yoga masters coming back to remind us, we think we're these little sheep, but we're actually full of energy and potential to love greatly, boundlessly, and to live in love. We just have to be reminded. And that's what makes us royal. That's what makes us these beings that can live in such a high space. We just have to remind ourselves who we really are. So thank you all. Let's do that for each other as we, go out into our week. And really seeing each moment as an opportunity to help each other live at our highest. And we have some songs for you today. So I'll go ahead and end the talk recording, and then we'll move into the music to take in today's lessons a little deeper.